Welcome back to Terminal Disclosure, where we dive deep into the hidden corners of the tech world. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a world that operates in the shadows, the life of a darknet vendor. It's a topic shrouded in mystery, often sensationalized in the media, but rarely understood in its full complexity. We're going to explore the daily routines, the operational security measures, the ethical dilemmas, and the constant threat of law enforcement that defines the existence of these individuals. This isn't about glorifying or condemning. It's about understanding the realities of this digital underworld. We'll be drawing on court documents, academic studies, real-world cases, and even the vendor's own words to paint a comprehensive picture. We'll be looking at the operational aspects, the marketplaces they frequent, the products they sell, and the techniques they use to stay anonymous. We'll also be diving into the ethical and moral considerations that some vendors grapple with, the risks they face, and the consequences they endure if caught. We'll discuss specific cases, individuals like Sam Bent, also known as DoingFedTime, whose story offers a fascinating, albeit cautionary, tale of a darknet vendor's rise and fall. So buckle up, because we're about to journey into the digital underground to explore the complex and often paradoxical life of a darknet vendor. To start, let's define what we mean by darknet vendor. These are individuals or groups who operate online businesses within darknet marketplaces. These marketplaces are accessible only through specialized software like Tor, which provides anonymity by routing internet traffic through a series of relays. This anonymity attracts individuals seeking to buy and sell goods and services that are often illegal or restricted in the mainstream world. The range of products sold on these marketplaces is surprisingly broad. Of course, narcotics are a major component, including everything from cannabis and MDMA to cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, and various prescription drugs. But you'll also find stolen data, such as credit card numbers, login credentials, and personal information, counterfeit goods, including electronics and documents, hacking tools and malware, and even weapons, though many marketplaces explicitly prohibit the sale of firearms and poisons. To get a better sense of the day-to-day realities, let's examine the typical tasks and responsibilities of a darknet vendor. The daily routine of a darknet vendor is surprisingly multifaceted, requiring a blend of technical skills, business acumen, and a constant awareness of security threats. One of the first tasks each day is often checking and responding to customer inquiries. Customer service is paramount in the darknet marketplace, just as it is in any legitimate online business. Vendors need to answer questions about products, shipping, and payment, and resolve any disputes or complaints that may arise. Customer feedback is crucial for maintaining a positive reputation, which is essential for attracting and retaining customers in a competitive environment. Another important task is managing orders. This includes verifying payments, packaging products, and arranging for shipment. Packaging requires careful attention to detail to ensure that the items are discreet and secure, and that they won't be detected during transit. Shipping often involves using anonymous methods, such as drop shipping or using untraceable postal services, to further protect the vendor's identity. Maintaining operational security, or OPSEC, is an ongoing and critical aspect of a darknet vendor's daily life. This involves implementing a range of security measures to protect their anonymity and prevent law enforcement from tracking them down. We'll delve much deeper into OPSEC later, but it's always top of mind. Financial management is also a key responsibility. Vendors need to manage cryptocurrency transactions, track profits and expenses, and launder their earnings to avoid detection by financial institutions and law enforcement. This often involves using cryptocurrency mixers, which obfuscate the origin of funds by combining them with other transactions. Finally, staying informed about the latest news, exploits, and vulnerabilities is crucial for maintaining security. Vendors need to be aware of any potential threats to their anonymity and take steps to mitigate them. This includes monitoring law enforcement activity, reading security blogs and forums, and adapting their security practices accordingly. Now let's zoom in and talk about operational security, or OPSEC, in more detail. This is arguably the most important aspect of a darknet vendor's life, because a single mistake can lead to arrest and prosecution. One of the fundamental principles of OPSEC is anonymity. Vendors need to use tools and techniques to mask their identities and prevent their real-world personas from being linked to their online activities. This includes using Tor, VPNs, and other anonymizing technologies to hide their IP addresses and locations. Another key aspect of OPSEC is secure communication. Vendors need to use encryption to protect their communications with buyers, suppliers, and other parties. PGP encryption is a common tool for this, allowing vendors to encrypt messages and files so that only the intended recipient can read them. Data security is also crucial. Vendors need to protect their sensitive data, such as customer information, transaction records, and encryption keys, from unauthorized access. This involves using strong passwords, encrypting storage devices, and regularly backing up data to secure locations. Physical security is also a consideration. Vendors need to take precautions to protect their physical locations from being searched or raided by law enforcement. This includes using secure drop locations for receiving and sending packages, avoiding suspicious activity, and being aware of surveillance techniques. One technique that has emerged involves counter-surveillance, perimeter checks to avoid detection. Regularly changing PGP keys and vendor names is also a common practice to maintain anonymity. Finally, OPSEC requires a mindset of constant vigilance and paranoia. Vendors need to be aware of the potential threats to their security and take steps to mitigate them at all times. What platforms do Darknet vendors utilize? The answer is varied, with some clear patterns and trends. Darknet marketplaces are the most common platforms. These are websites accessible through Tor that host numerous vendors selling a wide range of products. Silk Road was the pioneering marketplace, but it has since been shut down by law enforcement. Other notable marketplaces include Alphabay, Hansa, Dream Market, Empire Market, and Incognito Market. These marketplaces often operate like e-commerce sites, with vendors creating listings for their products, buyers browsing and making purchases, and feedback systems allowing buyers to rate vendors based on their experiences. Many marketplaces require vendors to undergo an application process, provide proof of reputation from other markets, or pay a cash deposit. However, law enforcement operations regularly target these marketplaces, leading to frequent shutdowns and disruptions. This has led some vendors to seek alternative platforms, such as encrypted messaging apps like Telegram, Wickr, and WhatsApp. These apps offer end-to-end encryption, making it difficult for law enforcement to intercept communications. Vendors may also operate on invitation-only forums or create their own hidden service websites to sell their products directly. Some vendors have also been known to operate through single vendor shops on the dark web, creating their own hidden service platforms to sell directly. This model offers greater control and autonomy, but requires more technical expertise and effort to set up and maintain. The multi-market presence is common among vendors to maintain their reputation and business continuity, even if one marketplace closes. What are the risks associated with being a Darknet vendor? The risks are significant and multifaceted. The most obvious risk is, of course, law enforcement. Darknet vendors are constantly at risk of being caught and prosecuted for their illegal activities. Law enforcement agencies around the world are actively working to identify and shut down Darknet marketplaces and arrest vendors. The penalties for these crimes can be severe, including lengthy prison sentences and forfeiture of assets. For example, Alessandro Sabag was sentenced to 78 months in prison for conspiracy to sell counterfeit drugs on Darknet marketplaces. Chester Anderson was caught laundering over $2 million in cryptocurrency and faced significant jail time. Hugh Brian Haney laundered more than $19 million in illicit profits through Silk Road. Exit scams are another significant risk. These occur when marketplace administrators or vendors abscond with escrowed funds, leaving buyers and sellers empty-handed. The Evolution Market exit scam resulted in the theft of $12 million in Bitcoin. The Wall Street Market exit scam saw $14.2 million stolen just before authorities seized the site. Competition is also a factor. The Darknet marketplace can be highly competitive, with vendors vying for customers and market share. This can lead to price wars, reputation attacks, and other forms of unethical behavior. There's also the risk of violence. While the Darknet offers a degree of anonymity, it doesn't eliminate the risk of physical harm. Vendors may be targeted by rivals, disgruntled customers, or even law enforcement informants. What about the ethical and moral considerations? This is a complex area, as the actions of Darknet vendors have real-world consequences that extend beyond the digital realm. Some vendors may rationalize their activities by arguing that they are providing a service to people who want or need certain goods or services. They may claim that they are simply filling a demand, and that if they didn't, someone else would. Some may even claim they are libertarians fighting against government overreach. However, the products sold on Darknet marketplaces can have serious consequences. The sale of narcotics can lead to addiction, overdose, and death. The sale of stolen data can lead to identity theft and financial fraud. The sale of weapons can lead to violence and crime. Some vendors may attempt to mitigate these risks by implementing certain ethical guidelines. For example, some drug vendors test their products for purity and potency to ensure that customers are not unknowingly consuming adulterated substances. Some also provide information about safe drug use and harm reduction. However, these efforts are often limited and don't eliminate the inherent risks associated with selling illegal or restricted goods and services. Ultimately, the ethical and moral implications of being a darknet vendor are a matter of personal conscience and values. To bring these abstract discussions to life, let's examine some real-world cases of darknet vendors. Sam Bent, also known as DoingFedTime, is a well-known figure in the darknet community. He sold cannabis and moonshine on various darknet marketplaces, including Hansa Market. Bent was eventually caught and sentenced to prison for his activities. His story provides a detailed look at the operational security measures, the challenges of running a darknet business, and the consequences of getting caught. Bammeet Singh, operating under the vendor name Liston, sold fentanyl, LSD, ecstasy, Xanax, ketamine, and tramadol on Silk Road, Alphabet, and Hansa. Singh laundered millions of dollars in drug proceeds into cryptocurrency accounts and used the U.S. mail to ship drugs from Europe to the United States. Chester Anderson operated dark web storefronts selling Xanax and other controlled substances. He shipped hundreds of thousands of Xanax tablets across the country and laundered over $2 million in cryptocurrency. Anderson's case highlights the scale and sophistication of some darknet drug operations. These cases illustrate the range of activities and consequences associated with being a darknet vendor. They also demonstrate the challenges that law enforcement faces in tracking down and prosecuting these individuals. What happens to darknet vendors after they are caught? The consequences can be life-altering. The most immediate consequence is arrest and prosecution. Darknet vendors face a range of charges depending on the nature of their activities. These can include drug trafficking, money laundering, fraud, and weapons violations. The penalties for these crimes can be severe, including lengthy prison sentences, substantial fines, and forfeiture of assets. In some cases, vendors may also face civil lawsuits from victims of their crimes. Even after serving their time, former darknet vendors may face long-term consequences. They may have difficulty finding employment, obtaining housing, or traveling internationally. Their criminal records may also make it difficult to obtain loans or credit. Some former vendors may attempt to reintegrate into society by starting legitimate businesses or pursuing educational opportunities. However, the stigma associated with their past activities can make this difficult. Others may relapse into criminal behavior, finding it difficult to resist the lure of easy money and anonymity. The challenges of reintegration can be significant, and many former darknet vendors struggle to rebuild their lives after prison. Sam Bent, also known as DoingFedTime, has discussed his experiences in prison and the challenges of reentering society after serving his sentence. His story offers valuable insights into the long-term consequences of being a darknet vendor. Given the inherent risks and challenges, why do people become darknet vendors? For some, it's about profit. The darknet marketplace can be lucrative, offering the potential to earn significant amounts of money with relatively little risk of physical harm. The anonymity of the darknet can also be appealing to those who want to avoid detection by law enforcement and financial institutions. For others, it's about ideology. Some vendors may believe that they are providing a service to people who want or need certain goods or services. They may see themselves as fighting against government overreach and promoting individual freedom. Still others may be motivated by a sense of adventure or excitement. The darknet can be a thrilling and unpredictable place, offering a sense of community and belonging to those who feel alienated from mainstream society. Regardless of their motivations, darknet vendors are often drawn to the anonymity, the potential for profit, and the sense of freedom that the darknet offers. However, they must also be aware of the risks and consequences associated with their activities. It's also been theorized that the draw to the darknet markets is a way to shield mid-level retailers from violence and intimidation inherent in competing with established hierarchical criminal organizations controlling geographic turfs. The world of darknet vendors is constantly evolving, with new technologies, marketplaces, and tactics emerging all the time. One of the key trends is the increasing use of cryptocurrency mixers to launder funds. These services make it more difficult for law enforcement to trace transactions, providing vendors with greater anonymity. Another trend is the shift towards encrypted messaging apps like Telegram. These apps offer end-to-end encryption, making it difficult for law enforcement to intercept communications. Vendors may also use these apps to communicate with buyers and suppliers, bypassing traditional darknet marketplaces altogether. The rise of single vendor shops is another notable trend. These shops offer vendors greater control and autonomy, but require more technical expertise and effort to set up and maintain. Law enforcement agencies are also adapting to these changes, developing new tools and techniques to track down and prosecute darknet vendors. This includes using advanced data analytics, undercover operations, and international collaborations. The future of darknet marketplaces is uncertain, but it's clear that they will continue to evolve and adapt in response to changing technologies, law enforcement efforts, and user demands. So what can we learn from the life of a darknet vendor? First, it's important to recognize the complexity and diversity of this world. Darknet vendors are not a monolithic group. They have different motivations, values, and experiences. Second, it's crucial to understand the risks and consequences associated with being a darknet vendor. The potential rewards may be tempting, but the risks are significant and can have life-altering consequences. Third, it's essential to recognize the ethical and moral implications of these activities. The products sold on darknet marketplaces can have serious consequences for individuals and society as a whole. Finally, it's important to stay informed about the latest trends and developments in the darknet world. This includes understanding the technologies, marketplaces, and tactics used by vendors, as well as the efforts by law enforcement to combat these activities. By understanding the life of a darknet vendor, we can gain a better understanding of the complex and often contradictory forces that shape this digital underworld. That brings us to the end of this deep dive into the life of a darknet vendor. We've explored the daily routines, the operational security measures, the ethical dilemmas, and the constant threat of law enforcement that defines this hidden world. I hope this episode has shed some light on a complex and often misunderstood topic. It's a world that operates in the shadows, but it's a world that has real-world consequences. What did you think? Let me know in the comments below. Do you have any questions or insights to share? And if you enjoyed this episode, please give it a like and subscribe to Terminal Disclosure for more deep dives into the tech world's hidden corners. Thanks for listening.